Today's lesson is on identifying the main idea. This is part of our unit on reading comprehension skills, and this is really a core aspect of a reading in general, is being able to identify what the core essence, what the main idea of the story, the text, etc. is. What's the topic? What is it all about? So what is the main idea? Well, it pretty much just told you. The main idea of a text is what the story is all about, or what it is mostly about. The main idea is often broad, so it encompasses all of the supporting details of the text. So basically, if you had to tell another person the main idea of what you're reading, it would likely be no more than 1 to 2 sentences and would describe the who and the what of the story. You don't need to include the action because the action is really the details. The details are the evidence that supports the main idea. You're just describing who and what the story, the text, is all about. So here are some nice little visuals that really help us to hone in on the main idea. Right here, you have a main idea ice cream cone. So if you think of an ice cream cone, the main idea is the cone. And then on top, each piece of ice cream is a supporting detail. A main idea can also be thought of as a table, right? The main idea is the surface, the main part, and each leg of the table would be a supporting detail that provides evidence on why the main idea is the main idea. And like I said earlier, the main idea equals the who and the what of what you're reading. So how do you identify the main idea? Well, if you saw in the visuals before, they included asking a lot of questions. All right, so these are things that you can do before you read, as you are reading, and then after you read. So I recommend doing all three: before you read questions, during the reading questions, and after you read questions. So a good way to begin finding the main idea is to look at the text features. What is the title of the story or the passage? Are there any illustrations that might give you a clue what the story is about? What is most prominent? Are there any words or terms that are repeated multiple times? So for beginners, I recommend, and this is how we teach reading comprehension in school, is we have you read each sentence and then provide a summary. Tell us what the sentence is all about. And then once you're able to tell us the main idea or give us a synopsis of each sentence, then we build it to more than one sentence. So I'd say, read these 2 sentences and tell me what the main idea of these 2 sentences combined is. And so we begin with sentence level comprehension of main idea, and we work our way to paragraph level and passage level reading comprehension to identify the main idea. For our intermediate readers, we have you read the paragraph once to yourself and once aloud. So quietly in your head and then out loud for others to hear, or at least loud enough for you to hear. If you want to use a level 1 or 2 voice, a whisper or inside voice. And so if you had to explain what the general idea was from the text, say someone walked by and said, "Oh, what are you reading about?" What would you tell them? That is the main idea, okay? So here are, again, questions you can ask yourself as you are reading. What is the text mainly about? What information is in the title or subheadings? Do I see the main idea in the first or last sentence? That's another huge thing. The main idea of a text or a story, or really a passage, is typically going to be in the first sentences or last sentences of each paragraph, okay? So look for the first and last sentences of a paragraph to give you more clues on what the main idea could be. So it's easier to explain identifying the main idea through practice rather than me directing you how to do it. So let's practice. So if we were to start with picture level comprehension to identify the main ideas, I'd look at these pictures and I pick the correct main idea. So here I see, it looks like they're playing in snow. One person has snowballs, another is snowboarding. Looks like one of them has a sled or toboggan. One person is throwing snowballs, and one person is building a snowman. So there's a lot of stuff going on. How do I identify what the main idea is? What's the essence or the core general idea of what's going on? Well, throwing snowballs is too specific because not everyone's doing that. And same for building a snowman. Only one girl is, not every single person. So for this picture, I'd say having fun in the snow is the main idea. Everyone is smiling. Everyone is in the snow. They look to be having a good time. So the main idea of these pictures is having fun in the snow. Now, we're going to move quickly onto more challenging identification of main ideas. So we're looking here at a paragraph, and we're going to read the paragraph, and then we're going to figure out the main idea. Stingrays can be found in many different habitats. There are around 220 species of stingrays. Stingrays are mostly found in shallow coastal waters throughout tropical and subtropical climates, but some stingrays live very differently. For instance, the deepwater stingray lives nearly half a mile under the waves of the open ocean. Eagle rays live in the open ocean, but closer to the surface. Other types of stingrays, like the whiptail stingray, live in freshwater rivers and flats. Stingrays are common in many different places. So ideally, you would have read that paragraph first in your head and then second time out loud. And that again is so we can practice our reading fluency, our accuracy and our speed when reading, which really contributes to our reading comprehension. So let's think about it. What is the main idea? Well, this doesn't have a topic and it doesn't have any pictures, but I do see a bunch of words repeated. So stingrays was repeated, and then different habitats were repeated. So if I had to tell someone the gist or the main idea of what I read, I probably wouldn't tell them there are around 220 species because every sentence isn't about that. Only one is. Are stingrays mostly found in shallow waters? That's true, but is that what the paragraph is all about? No, they talk about different habitats. And then the deep water stingray is only mentioned once in here. So our main idea is going to be stingrays can be found in many different habitats. Notice that this main idea is general so that it encompasses each of the supporting details, and it is broad enough to, like I said, to incorporate everything that we talked about. All right, I'm going to read this passage. You are going to listen, and then you are going to identify the main idea. We wanted to do something fun after school. My mom said she would take us to the park. She packed a snack for us. Malik rode his bike to the park. Sally rode her scooter. Mom and I walked. We love going to the park. What's the main idea? We went to the park is the main idea. And that actually is mentioned in the last sentence, right? So you can look in the first or last sentence. Malik rode his bike, Sally rode her scooter, and Mom packed a snack are all individual sentences that contribute or support the main idea of going to the park, but they're not what the story is all about. Going to the park is what the story is all about. First, the hen lays some eggs. She keeps them warm so they will hatch. In about 21 days, the eggs will hatch. The chicks will grow adult feathers in about 1 month. The baby chicks will be adult chickens in 6 months. Then they can lay their own eggs. What's the main idea? So hopefully you chose, this is about the life cycle of a chicken, right? If you look at the first and last sentence, it doesn't really mention the main idea. You have to infer it because this is a nonfiction, factual-based passage. And so each of these sentences, each of these sentences are about the story in that they are mentioned, but they aren't the core of the story. The general idea, the main idea, is the life cycle of a chicken. The body temperature of amphibians changes with the temperature around them. They are cold-blooded. When it is hot, they need to burrow underground or go in the water to keep their bodies cool. During the winter, some hibernate. What's the main idea? Well, the main idea is that amphibians are cold-blooded. This is interesting because they do mention it specifically in the passage. However, it isn't the first sentence. The first sentence talks about the body temperature, in which we would know that in the second sentence, they're cold-blooded, all right? And then the last sentence tells us that some hibernate, so those can be misleading. I say to look at the first and last sentences to give you a general idea of what the text is about. And sometimes, if you're lucky, the main idea will be in the first or last sentence, but it's really important to read the entire paragraph, think about it, and then identify the main idea, okay? So that you have all the facts and you can tell me what is the biggest fact? What are we talking about? What's the main idea, okay?